So today I want to tell you about my experience on my very first curvy road that I had ever done and how it almost ended in disaster. Now, if you're not familiar with me, my name is Headshot. I've been reviewing bikes here for going on 4 years now, but there's been one big thing that's missing in my experience, and that is a really long road trip. So me and my buddy Mike recently did 1,400 miles. He's got a Road Glide Limited and I have a Road Glide Special. And instead of trailing the bikes up there, I wanted to ride up there. And this experience taught me a ton of stuff. And I kind of go over that in a video I recently made. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to that video down in the description box. But that kind of gives you an overview. This is just that one curvy road. And that curvy road I'm talking about is the Rattler. So it's like 290 curves in 24 miles. So, you know, it's less curves than the Tail of the Dragon and obviously a little bit more spread out. But what's nice about it is there was very little traffic on the road. And so it was probably a really good introduction into really curvy roads. Now I'd done some the day before and the night before that, some curvy roads in eastern Tennessee, but this was my first experience for like a really curvy road, I would say. Now, the whole point of this video is I want to tell you what I learned, and then if you're a new rider or you're maybe going to the mountains for the first time, maybe an experienced rider, whatever, I want to tell you about the mistakes I made, and hopefully I can teach you something that I had to learn the hard way. Now, it's funny because before I went, another buddy of mine said, man, I hope you kind of do run in some weather because those are the moments that you remember. And he's exactly right, dude. This curvy road and the monsoon that I ran into are two of the biggest highlights on the trip that will probably be with me for a very long time. So let me tell you about this and let me tell you what I actually learned from riding this road. Now, it was a pretty cold morning. It was, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours to actually get to the Rattler from where my buddy lives. And it was pretty cold that morning, so I had to upgrade my gloves. Fortunately, we met his buddy Mike at a Harley-Davidson dealer, so I was able to get some actually insulated gloves. By the way, my buddy had already told me to do this. I neglected to do that. The day before, I picked up chaps because I neglected to do that as well. So I was pretty well prepared for the cold weather we were in. We finally get to this road, right? And somehow I missed the sign that you're about to ride the Rattler. Now, that's probably a good thing because I told my buddy earlier that morning, I was like, man, let's let it warm up just a little bit before we head out and go meet your buddy, you know? And really, my stomach was getting a little queasy, if you will, and he made jokes about it later with his wife that, yeah, he had IBS because it was making him so nervous about going on this road. But I didn't want my anxiety to, like, ruin the trip before I went. But it is something that I was anxious about. Even though I was already riding some curvy roads, I knew this was like a real test for me, my first real test on a real curvy road. So anyways, once we get there, almost instantly, rain starts to drop. And it's not a heavy rain that's gonna kind of wash everything off the road. It's more of a light rain that tends to bring things up. So instantly I start to get in my head mentally, I'm thinking, what is my back tire gonna do through some of these really tight turns? Now, one mistake I made is I was actually in the back. My buddy Mike was in the middle, his buddy Mike was in the front. His buddy was kind of doing his ride the way he wanted to do it, which is totally fine. I should have been in the middle where my buddy Mike was in the back. That was one of our first mistakes. But regardless, almost instantly once I get on this road, not only is there this kind of light rain, but I run off the road. Now you'll notice I did a couple of things here. First of all, I did not panic, right? I kind of let the bike take its course. This is kind of a washout in the road. So it's like a skinny pothole that I run into. I don't panic. I'm kind of just trying to get it back on the road, keep my eyes straight ahead, because that's where I made my first mistake. Not only mentally kind of playing tricks on myself, but also I let my eyes get away from me for just a split second. And that's all it takes. You'll notice right after I get it back on the road, a car is coming the opposite direction. So fortunately, I had the training enough to keep my eyes focused where I wanted to go. I knew I had lost my vision for a second, and I knew I had to get my eyes back on where I wanted to be, not on where I didn't want to be. So I'm instantly thinking now, I've either bent around or I'm going to be leaking some kind of transmission fluid or oil or something all over the freaking road. I spot check the best I can, but let's be honest, man, there's no really good place for me to pull off there. So the steering feels fine. I don't see any oil dripping, so I continue on my way. And I'll be honest with you, after this, you know what I started to do that really helped me out? Say to myself, slow, look, press, roll. Slow, look, press, roll. The next turn, slow, look, press, roll. Slow, look, press, roll. I kept saying this to myself to instill these basics that I know and that I should be practicing. This is the time. This is where I need to be using this the most. I also try to stay to the outside of the lane and then make my turn. Whenever I'm coming through the turn, look through that turn and then hit the throttle, get on the throttle once I can see the end of the curve. And the rest of the road went on without any kind of blunder. I saw the "you just rode the Rattler" sign, which is pretty cool. That was a great achievement for me. And what's nice about this road is you have some really curvy parts, and then you have like a valley that you go through, so you get to kind of take everything in. It's not a constant back and forth, back and forth. Now the other problem that I had, and I'm hoping that by changing handlebars and actually doing a driver's backrest, I hope these things will alleviate this issue that I had. But because I do have back issues, a lot of times this will run up my neck. Now, this could be a combination of a back issue, or it could be that I just gave myself a headache overthinking what was going on, like super hyper focused on every little thing, right? Because of the back and forth motion, So that's just something that I'm gonna have to pay attention to. And again, hopefully some of these modifications that I have to do to my bike now will make a big difference with that going forward. Because initially, once we got off of it, I wasn't really feeling it. But now that I did it, I felt accomplished. I knew that I was able to recover from a potentially bad situation. That gave me the confidence to now plan another trip to go up there and tackle some more of these roads and not shy away from it, because honestly, it's one of the most beautiful places that I've personally ever been, and the roads there are so awesome for motorcyclists. And so that's how my first trip on a curvy road almost ended in disaster. Those are some of the mistakes I made and some of the things that I learned along the way. I'd love to hear about your first experience on a really curvy road. Are you from an area like I am where it's just pretty much flat, and then you made your first trip? How did it go? What did you learn? I'd love to hear those things down below. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, holding down.